Hey, it's Armin Rafi. I'm the founder of Elite Speakers Academy. Welcome to the show. Next to me, I have quite the interesting individual. I'm really excited to learn more about you and kind of share with the audience, who you are, what you do. So what's your name? What do you do?
My name is Mohsin Rafi. I'm a real estate investor, mortgage advisor.
Cool. How'd you get into this, man? I want to kind of dive right into the story. How did you get to being in the field you're in right now, doing and helping people the way you do?
So my story started, so first I worked at the banks. So I worked at Scotia, TD, RBC, CIBC, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I learned the ropes, essentially, working there. And eventually I ended up quitting those jobs and then starting something on my own.
Right.
And that's kind of how I got into that field.
I have your own business now, so you're starting to get out there as a speaker as well.
Yes.
And what do you speak about? Like, what are you helping people with in your talks?
So my big thing is, my focus is on millennials.
Right.
And especially first-time home buyers, and also an emphasis on importance of credit. I think there's a big misunderstanding when it comes to the credit and the system. Most people, they go into banks and they don't really necessarily know what they're doing or how their money works. And I think credit is amazing. I think it's awesome. And when you hear about debt and you hear about credit, people kind of tend to shy away, but it's a part of life. And I feel like there's a way you can really utilize it to grow your wealth, and people aren't aware of that.
That makes sense. And by the way, that's some real knowledge you're dropping there. So I'm happy that there are people like yourself out there making it aware to millennials. Being one of them, I would think it was really smart to be educated on this stuff because this is my future. So that's awesome. So this is how you got into it just recently. I want to dive into maybe your story. What's Mo's story growing up? What was mom like, dad like? Do you have siblings? And how did that bring you to even getting into the bank and then even getting you to where you are today? How did your life story, what's that? Tell us your story.
I grew up in Ottawa.
Okay.
My parents are from Pakistan. And my dad had his own business as well. So he was self-employed. He ran a foreign exchange business, and he was also in banking. So I'd finished high school, I'd finished university, and I thought to myself that, okay, maybe I should go into banking. And then, lo and behold, I got a job as a teller. That's how I first started, and I kind of went into that type of field.
So your dad was kind of like an influence for you.
He was.
Beautiful. What did your mom do?
My mom was at home.
At home. Much respect to them. My mom as well, the same. I always have to ask this question. So growing up, obviously, your dad was the influencer to you getting into the expertise you are now.
Yes.
But tell me the moment. I know you watched your dad growing up, but what was that moment? What was a defining moment in your life growing up where you maybe made a choice, a decision that really changed the path of your life?
To be honest, man, when I was in university, it was just one thought in my mind. It was like, get a job. Right. Get a job, get a job, get a job. And then you get the job, and then it's like, okay, you gotta get licensed, gotta get licensed. I get licensed, and I'm like, good. Okay, this is after Scotia, I was at TD, and I'm working, and I'm killing it. But then I'm like going home on the bus one day, and I'm just thinking, I'm just staring out the window saying, there's gotta be more to life. You gotta be able to make impact, but also, have more control. You can.
What made you, and I've had, other speakers on the show that said the same thing, and my question is, what made you think there's more to life? How did you know?
I just knew.
And
I just knew.
It's usually the answer I get, which is I just felt like it was an intuitive thing. But if you were to guess, where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes from within you, man. You know what I'm saying? If you believe in yourself. So I think for me, I was able to, I doubted myself through university for some reason because I wasn't achieving. I was just in school. I wasn't really accomplishing anything. But as soon as I graduated and I get the job and I'm excelling, then I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I got this. I have that confidence within me. And not only that, my superiors and managers would tell me to do something, and I'd find a quicker, shorter way to do it. Wow. And then I was like, okay, there's got to be something more that I could do myself. If I just put in the effort, put in the work, I could get there.
And so you think it's just an intuitive thing, inside?
Yeah.
So anyone watching could really have that same feeling of yeah, I think it's just in me to know that there's more. But what about the people who don't think there's more to life? The ones who gave up, the ones who are depression. What would you say to someone like that?
I would say it's all in the mind.
It's all in the mind.
It's all in the mind.
Tell me more about this.
So, again, TGR principles. It's Earl Nightingale said this: if you think in positive terms, you will achieve positive results. I think that's super true, and I think a lot of skeptics will say, "Oh, that's just positive thinking and it's just wishy-washy thinking." But in reality, if you're thinking positively, if you're thinking to yourself, "I'm going to achieve this," you'll immediately move towards that direction. You know, you'll have that within you and you'll just keep going until you succeed. And I think if people that give up, they're the ones who are in that situation. If they didn't give up, they would find a way.
Right.
You know?
So teacher, I mean, Think and Grow Rich, you think it just really is a matter of like how you think.
Exactly.
So, okay, beautiful. And that'd be like a whole nother interview where we dive deep into how you think in order to even believe that there's more in life, because obviously people who don't believe that aren't thinking the way you think. Does that make sense?
True.
So powerful stuff. So you grew up, you saw your dad in banking. You also knew yourself. You're really good at what you do. You had self-confidence. What was like an adversity maybe you hit in your life? What's the biggest adversity you faced in your life in terms of a challenge that you've overcome that's made you who you are today?
Actually, it was the first time I became 100% commission.
Right.
That was the big deal.
Going
That was
salary to commission.
salary to commission. Every man goes through this. It's like, oh, I can do it. And I felt really good too. And once I made that jump, it was a big deal. Right. It was so much harder than I thought it would be. And I think that was the biggest challenge. People say, start your own business and just go at it. But it's so much more difficult. But if you have that drive and that ambition, you're just going to keep going. You know, it's that old saying, fall down 7 times, get up 8. So I remember just feeling like, oh my God, did I make the wrong call? There were months where, let's say, there's no money coming in. You know, when you're starting up your business and you start doubting, but I looked at the doubts and I just pushed them to the side and just kept persisting. And I feel like that was an adversity that I had to go through.
And it's a huge jump to go from something secure income, which isn't really secure, but secure income, theoretically, to income that's result oriented. Well, let's take us back even younger. We're going into our childhood, man. Growing up as Mohsin, right? You know, your nickname's Mo now, right? So growing up as Mohsin, 8, 7 years old, 10, 12, whatever. Throughout that childhood experience growing up in your family, in the circumstance, maybe in Ottawa, what's the biggest challenge or adversity you think you faced as a child growing up that maybe was a big pivotal step for you in your life?
I think, I think it was grade 4 or grade 5. I remember getting bullied and being afraid of the bully. I think that was the biggest thing. And standing up for myself. I remember getting into a fight with the guy.
Okay.
And he punched me in the face.
Okay.
And I had this huge black eye. But I remember leading up to it, I was so scared. And then afterwards, it was like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Right. So I guess the lesson, now that I'm literally realizing this as I'm speaking, okay?
Yeah, how it works.
So it's like you fear something, but it's not that bad. You know what I'm saying? Like you're fearing it, and it's like this end of the world thing, but it happens, and then you're like, hey, first of all, this wasn't that bad. Secondly, I'm gonna grow from this. You know, it makes you stronger. Any type of adversity, anytime someone kicks your butt, you know, anytime you have any type of adversity or you fail, every single time it's pushing you towards success. And I feel like I got that when I was younger.
Fear is just painful when you're leading up to it.
Yeah.
And the moment it happens, what happens?
Disappears, yeah.
And how does that relate now to what you do with millennials in finance?
So for me, there was basically a moment where I was at RBC and I was giving people mortgages, okay? And I was renting. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. I'm sitting here giving mortgages to people, and I'm sitting here renting.
Right.
A little bit hypocritical. And then I obviously, just knowing what I know, giving advice, I did my own numbers and said, okay, if I continue on this path, this is where I will be in 2 years, 5 years, so on and so forth. I need to make a move. And I guess traditionally, it would be, okay, save up, wait a couple of years, then buy your first place. But I said, that doesn't make sense. And so I guess traditional advice that people are being fed isn't necessarily correct, in my opinion. And so that's kind of where I looked at myself and said, this is what I could do, and I went for it.
And was it scary leading up to your first home to buy?
It was terrifying.
Terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. I remember it was this pivotal moment where I'm all into no money down and using leverage, all that kind of stuff. So basically, I bought my first condo. This is where I'm living right now, okay? I was in debt. I didn't have anything. Obviously, most of us, we go to university, we have OSAP, this, that, and all that kind of stuff. So I was negative. And then I wrote a check for like 20 grand to buy my first place from another line of credit. I remember staring at the check in the parking lot. I'm supposed to give it to the developer. And I remember looking at it, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? Wow. I was like, this is so crazy. and this is the biggest check I've written so far. And I'm just staring at it like, am I making the right call? This and that. I was scared, but that was terrifying. But I knew based on everything that I know, hey, this makes sense.
So my next question, and this is where I like to get to the person's drive. So like, I know how you got to here, the events that happened, the people, the role models, the influence, but why? Like, why didn't you become an athlete? Why did you do something else? Why did you choose finance? Why did you choose money? Why did you choose this field to specialize in and help people in that field? Why this?
So this, when it comes to money and finance, I think it's the only way to achieve freedom. You know, if everyone's working 9 to 5, and for me, it was like just this deep within inside me where I said, you need to be your own boss. You need to live your life on your own terms. You can't be living 9 to 5. That's where all the TGIM stuff comes from, right?
Thank God it's Monday.
Thank God it's Monday, right? And so for me, I basically thought to myself that I need to have a certain amount of money, and that equals financial freedom. And it's not $100 million, you know? And it's not $10 million. It's like way less than that. And so for me, why I chose money was because I realized that if you master money, if you figure out how it works and the financial system, then you can truly be free. Then you can do whatever you want, which is, in my case, I'd like to help other people and educate them and empower them. So that's why I picked money, because it equals freedom.
So I always ask, let's say today was your last day on Earth. Okay, you're dying tonight.
Okay.
And there's
What time?
one message, 11:59 p.m.
Okay.
So this is your last day on Earth, and you have, your last moments right now as this person's watching. Someone's watching on the other side of this screen. What's one message, based off everything you've gone through in life, what's one message that you would want to leave people in this world, or leave someone on the other side of this camera that, just comes to your heart to you? And I want you to stare right into that camera and tell that person.
Forget about what other people are thinking. Forget about other people's opinions. We're all gonna die. I'm gonna die at 11:59. And what you gotta do is do what you gotta do. Forget about other people's opinions, other people's views on what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Everyone knows what's inside of them, and you gotta do it. You just gotta take that plunge and just go for it, and have faith, and that's how you gotta live your life.
Love it. Okay, beautiful. First of all, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story with us, sharing what you do. I think a lot of people got tons of value out of this, and I think a lot of people related, So I thank you so much. Thank you for watching the show and spending your time. Time is the most valuable thing you could ever give anyone. And Mohsin, thank you so much for letting us dive deep into your story, man.
Thank you, man.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem.